Gaijin put out some new BR changes coming within a few days, and like usual, they're pretty bad. This time though, they're even worse than usual, and really need to be seen to be believed. In this video, I'll go over the new Naval changes and explain why I think some of them are outright terrible for the mode, and shouldn't come to the game. The first few aren't that offensive, there's some debatable decisions, but it's mostly fine. The first head scratcher is PR41 Nustra Shimi to 5.0. Now this does partly make sense since PR56 is at 5.0 and they're nearly identical in performance. However, neither should be 5.0, especially considering some other 5.0s going down to 4.7 later in this list. PR41 should stay where it is and PR56 should be moved down to 4.7 to match it. Up next, Shimakaze to 4.7, notably in both arcade and realistic. In arcade, this is understandable. Shimakaze's 15 long lance torpedo salvo makes it extremely powerful, and it'll be just fine at 4.7 there. In realistic though, it really doesn't deserve to go up. Torpedoes are significantly weaker in realistic battles due to their realistic speed and ships carrying limited numbers of them, so Shimakaze is just a faster Japanese destroyer with a bit more AA there. The way to fix this change would be making it go to 4.7 in arcade, but leaving it at 4.3 in realistic, since it should perform just fine at those battle ratings in both modes. Up next, Krasny Kavkaz and HMS Enterprise to 4.7. 4.7 cruisers are already a problem, since their damage models are so different from destroyer damage models at the base level, they're inherently overpowered regardless of actual specifications. Even a terrible cruiser like Etna overperforms due to being a 4.7 ship. Enterprise in particular doesn't need to move down, it's actually one of the more capable 5.0 cruisers at the moment. Until every ship class is given similar modeling, like destroyer crews not being stapled to the inner walls of the hull, Kavkaz and Enterprise should stay at 5.0. Every 4.7 cruiser should also move up to 5.0. They're just inherently overpowered due to the damage model differences. Trento and Kako in particular are extremely strong, and they only went down to 4.7 due to artificial accuracy nerfs that made them unable to consistently hit enemy ships. Given proper accuracy, Trento could easily be a 5.0. And Kako would easily be a good 5.0 or maybe even a 5.3. Now for the worst possible change, Agano to 5.7. That's right, the worst 5.3 cruiser in the game, possibly one of the worst cruisers in the game, is going up to 5.7. This change is proof that these changes cannot be done manually by Gaijin, and it has to be some kind of automated spreadsheet. If I had to guess why this went up, it's probably the long lances in arcade. It has a better chance against a battleship with infinite long lances than a ship with worse torpedoes or none at all, which is somehow getting it pushed up. But realistically, Agano should go down. It's simply not 5.3 material, and it's especially not 5.7 material. It'll be fine at 5.0 just like the other weaker cruisers there, and if the long lances really make it do that well in arcade, it can just stay at 5.3. Next, Pola and Zara going to 5.3. So, two ships with H203mm cannons, the best overall armor-piercing shells on a heavy cruiser, and 150mm of belt armor are moving down. Interesting. It's almost like giving ships dispersion so unrealistically high that it would require the barrels of their guns to be broken to achieve makes them underperform. They should stay at 5.7 and get proper shell accuracy. They would actually be some of the better 5.7s in the game if they could consistently hit their targets. Next, Type 1939 T-31 and Type 1924 Jaguar going up to 4.0. T-31 is an old premium, and the Jaguar is an old event vehicle. However, their standard equivalents, T-22 and the Leopard, aren't going up. T-31 is barely better than T-22, and the Jaguar is a direct and significant downgrade from the Leopard. These are probably going up because they're being abused for events and SL grinding. They're tier 3 vessels with excellent SL modifiers that mostly face tier 1s, so they get used by players who had them before they were taken off sale. However, that doesn't mean they perform equivalently to a Type 1934A 1944. They really shouldn't go up in battle rating, since that's pushing them beyond their practical performance limit. It would probably be better to artificially nerf their SL earnings or to move them down a tier than make them over-tiered and kinda useless, but for now, just leave them at 3.7. Next, Porter and Moffat going down to 4.7. It's a bit odd that Summers isn't included despite being almost identical to them in combat, but if I had to guess, it'll be added to this list eventually. Porter used to be at 4.7 and pretty significantly overperformed, but after going up to 5.0 it became pretty weak. Really, this ship's a good example of what excessive compression does. Moving 0.3 down takes it from fighting top-tier dreadnoughts to fighting reserve Type 1924s, and Solve the Blue Water Fleet is shoved into a 2.7 BR range. Personally, I prefer these being at 4.7 since at least it can be used without constantly fighting ships that can't even pen, but something else needs to be done about the overall compression. Up last, USS Northampton to 5.0. It's a bit odd how it's being moved to a different battle rating than Portland. Portland is better, but the two should be very close in overall performance. Other than that, 5.0 is a bit low for this ship. It's much better than the Omahas and shouldn't be facing ships like Farragut, Ayanami, Ognavoy, or other 4.0s. It's overpowered against most destroyers as is. The main issue the ship has is its accuracy, like almost every heavy cruiser, and America getting practical fire rates on their heavy cruisers, while most countries get trial fire rates. It would also be strange to have a 5.0 Omaha in Tier 3 and a 5.0 Northampton in Tier 5. Northampton shouldn't move down, since it's about what a 5.3 should be performance-wise. The overall tone of these patch notes is decompression in the wrong direction. Lots of ships are going down when we need them to go up, or making Naval's hefty compression issue worse. This happened when we got destroyers at 3.3 and cruisers at 4.7, and every single change since then is just dropping more ships to battle ratings they don't really deserve to be at. Long lances also seem to be getting overly favored for these changes, based on Shimakaze and Agano going up. It's more evidence of how we need separate battle ratings in arcade and realistic, particularly for Japan. Or maybe they should just nerf torpedoes in arcade if they're making ships overperform this badly. I'll leave a link to the BR change discussion forum in the description. Be sure to absolutely flood it with your opinions on these changes. They didn't change any of the naval changes in the last patch, or the one before that, or the one before that based on our feedback, but if you'd like to join me in bashing my head into the wall and hoping for a change, please do. Thank you for watching.